Because we're out here in nature, I tried to pick a topic that's connected to nature. I've entitled this On Eagle's Wings. I was trying to remember, it seems like 2 or 3 years ago, there was someone filming an eagle's nest. And it was very interesting. You go watch the eggs hatch. We didn't get to watch everything about it, but it was very fascinating. Most people probably have not seen eagles in the wild, but because of the video world, we all are familiar with eagles. And they are certainly the king of birds. But, you know, the Bible uses nature as an avenue of revealing God. And this is true about the eagle. In fact, in Exodus 19:4, it says, talking about his deliverance from Egypt, God says, I bear you on eagle's wings. So he got them out of Egypt as though he was carrying them on the back of an eagle. And this was a tremendous experience that they had. An impossible thing, really, in those days, but the Lord accomplished it. So the complete text reads this way: Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Well, since Egypt is an illustration of how he converts us, how he brings us into his home or his house, then every one of us, if we have received conversion, we have experienced what he says here, that I pushed back the devil and his host and all the rest that was hindering you, and I got you out and brought you to me. Also, a very familiar one in Isaiah 40, verse 31, But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. So the experience that we can have is similar to this. When Christ is living in our life and when he's working in our life, he enables us to do these interesting things, one of which is to mount up on eagle's wings. Again, there's the lesson. We cannot say that there's some sin that we cannot overcome. If he is willing to do this for us, he can take us over every problem, every difficulty. The real issue is whether we are going to trust him or not. Estelle is a tremendous example to me of what God does to somebody who really trusts in him. Because most people would be way worse off than she is when they had that much chemo. So we're thankful for the evidence right close at hand that God is able to do the impossible, and he has promised that for all of us. But there's always an if, but they that wait upon the Lord. Now, a few of you heard Bon's sermon last night at Wildwood, and he was sharing some of the things that we are faced with in the very near future. I knew from reports of others that they had gone into stores and the shelves were empty of food. Some shelves were empty of food. I've been in a number of stores around here and I haven't seen that. but apparently some people have. So the food shortage is going to be very real. And of course that's going to develop a lot of other things. People are going to probably get to where they steal food or try to take food at gunpoint. Who knows what all will happen if these things don't, go away, which they don't seem to be. Yes.
Yeah, and I've also heard, of course this could be a good thing, but meat prices are really going up.
Uh-huh.
So people are finding beef, chicken, pork, those prices are rising.
Well, I believe the Lord's trying to make the world vegetarian because the news is well out there. Meat eaters get COVID more and worse. And there's other factors as well. But I just simply say that to say we're going to have to really learn how to wait on the Lord. And otherwise, we're going to get scared. Otherwise, we're going to be full of fear and panic, and our whole objective will be to save ourselves, if we don't really learn this lesson. So those that wait upon the Lord, they're going to see more and more God's special care for them and what He enables them to do. It's going to be a wonderful experience. In Heavenly Places, page 297, I found a comment on this eagle wings idea. The captain of our salvation strengthens his followers, not with scientific falsehoods. There's a lot of scientific falsehoods, even on COVID out there, scientific falsehoods. But God doesn't help us with those, but with genuine faith in the word of a personal God. This word is repeated over and over and over again with deeper affirmative power. So there are certain lessons that are repeated over and over and over again. And one of them is, trust me, I can do anything. Over and over again. Satan brings all his powers to the assault in the last close conflict. And we're there, folks. I don't think there's any doubt in the minds of any real Bible students that we're in the last conflict now. Our religious liberty is gone, and we're in the final problem. Don't think we're going to get any more religious liberty when it comes to Sunday. We already lost it in this issue. Satan brings all his powers to the assault in the last close conflict, and the endurance of the follower of Christ is taxed to the utmost. Gordon talked about what you have to do when you're at war. You have to train really seriously so that your body can handle things that it can't normally handle. We just read a story about a paratrooper. He was an Adventist, what God did for him. Incredible story. But his training was pushing him to the utmost to be able to, to handle everything. But our most important training is not physical, although we need to be in good condition. But our greatest training is spiritual. It's going to get bad. At times it seems that he must yield. So it looks like we're going to have to give in. Over and over again, it's going to look like that. But that's a signal that God is just about to do something. When you get to that point, notice what it says next. But a word of prayer to the Lord Jesus goes like an arrow to the throne of God, and angels of God are sent to the field of battle. The tide is turned. The wondrous light that shines in the face of Jesus Christ has stopped the mouth of the caviling opponents. So there'll be people that will attack the truth. vigorously, and it looks like maybe they're going to win. But God steps in. He says, no, you're not going any farther with that. Under the power of the spell that is upon them, their lips are closed, and the oppressed are delivered. We're going to need some of that in our evangelistic meetings, because you can know that when the word gets out, there's going to be people that are going to fight against it and try to stop people from coming. But here is what we need to put our trust in. The believing, harassed souls are borne up as on eagle's wings, and the victory is gained. We're not serving the losing side. We're serving the winning side. You know, I don't like to play games anymore, but when I used to, I always wanted to be on the winning side. I did not like to lose. I wanted to be on the winning side. Praise the Lord, we're on the winning side when it comes to this. God calls upon his people to prepare themselves for scenes of severe conflict. Now, if we have neglected to do that already, we better get busy. Scenes of severe conflict. I listened to a lawyer from Canada. I've heard something here, but it seems kind of far off to me here, but not so far off in Canada because of the way they're handling things. That they are talking about people that won't take the vaccination being put in camps, removed from their home and put in camps, like refugees, you know, stuck in camps. We're facing scenes of severe conflict. Take up your duties in a meek and lowly spirit. Ever face your enemies in the strength of Jesus. Discharge with faithfulness every duty. Realize that you must now obtain by daily conversion and humility an unquestioning trust in the one who has all power and who will not leave you to be destroyed. You know, I can't believe the outcome of the story of this paratrooper. I don't think very many Adventists want to be paratroopers, but he did. And the things that he went through are incredible. It proves that if God decides that you're not to be destroyed, there's no way they're going to be able to destroy you. In Deuteronomy 32, 9 through 12, it has another reference about the eagles. For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. Now we are what Jacob was to God here at this hour of Earth's history. He found him in the desert land, and in the waste, howling wilderness. He led him about. He instructed him. He kept him as the apple of his eye. What's the apple of our eye?
Pupil.
The pupil, yes. And you will, even without thinking about it, you will do anything to protect your eye. And God says, that's what I do for you. I do everything to protect you. But then he says, as an eagle stirreth up her nest. So God is like an eagle, stirring up the nest. Why does the eagle stir up the nest? Next thing it says, fluttereth over her young. Well, you know, the nest is so comfortable that the eagle, the little eagles, they don't want to get out of the nest. But it's time for them to learn how to fly. And so the mother has to stir up the nest and actually push them out to start trying to fly. But she's watching them. So the next one is, spreadeth abroad her wings. So, of course, the first time they fall out of the nest, they can't fly properly. So the mother swoops down and they land on the back of her wings, and she lifts them back up, puts them in the nest again. So it says, beareth them on her wings. So the Lord alone did lead them. This shows us that no matter what happens to us, even if we die like Mark LaVenture, it doesn't mean that God forgot about us. It means that it is the best for us at that point of our life. And we're going to have to come to that point where we can say, if I die, it's all right, and if I don't die, it's okay, whatever the Lord wants me to go through. He's going to be with me all the way through, as the eagle stirreth up her nest, and fluttereth over her young, and then spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, beareth them up on her wings, so the Lord alone did lead them. So he said, all the way through the wilderness, I was taking care of you like an eagle, a mother eagle, and I carried you on my wings over and over again so that you would make it successfully through that. And we know the one in Revelation 12 verse 14, where it says, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle. Now, the woman, of course, is a symbol of the church. And so when the time came that the Catholic Church was going to persecute the true people of God, the Bible says that God prepared a great eagle to carry his children out into the wilderness, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Now, they didn't have all the methods of detecting where people were back in those days. They had to go out and hunt for them, you know. And they did find some. But can you imagine what we're going to be up against with all the methods of finding out where people are? And they're using these, trying to catch this one man. It's amazing. You know, Ryan Laundrie. They're using it all. But God is able to protect his people even in spite of that. And so we have to learn to trust him fully. In Sons and Daughters 2:19, it says, obstacles to the advancement of the work of God will appear. You know, I'm thinking, how in the world, with the restrictions that are continuing to mount up, how in the world are we going to take the gospel to the world under these conditions? Now, it may be that the Lord will turn this around. I hope that will happen. But it doesn't matter. It says obstacles to the advancement of the work of God will appear, but fear not. To the omnipotence of the King of Kings, our covenant-keeping God unites the gentleness and care of a tender shepherd. Nothing can stand in his way. How much? Nothing. When we're on his side, we don't have to worry about a thing. Nothing can stand in the way of what he wants to accomplish. His power is absolute. You know, the reason we got all these mandates and all this is that these people think their power is absolute. They think they can control everybody and that they have the right to control that. God says, don't worry. I know how to work around that. I know how to take care of that. By the way, there's an organization that's headquartered in Germany that is trying to bring some of these individuals to justice, just like they did the Nazis in the war, the Second World War. So, you know, if they succeed, it'll be quite interesting. But we don't have to worry what man does. God's power is absolute. Nothing can stand in his way. And it is the pledge of the sure fulfillment of his promises to his people. And he's told us the gospel will go to the entire world, and therefore it will happen, no matter what obstacles the devil puts in our way. I believe that through COVID and through the mandates, that the devil is trying to kill people before the latter rain. He doesn't want them to hear the final message, and so he's trying to kill people before that time. But God will still accomplish his purposes. He can remove all obstructions to the advancement of his work. He has means for the removal of every difficulty. How many? Every difficulty. That those who serve him and respect the means he employs may be delivered. So there is an if, but if we meet those qualifications, then he will deliver from every difficulty. His goodness and love are infinite, and his covenant is unalterable. So he's made the promise, and he's going to keep it. The plans of the enemies of his work may seem to be firm and well established, but he can overthrow the strongest of these plans. And in his own time and way, he will do this. My experience is he always waits till the last minute. And so our faith gets stretched as far as it can go, and we're tempted to give up just before he delivers. But if you hang on, he delivers. And in his own time and way, he will do this when he sees that our faith has been sufficiently tested and that we are drawing near to him and making him our counselor. So that's our part, that we have to not lose trust in him, to put our full confidence that he's going to deliver at the time that he sees it best. Not when we would like him to deliver, but when he sees best to deliver. Now, I'd like to give you two examples from the Bible, as I've been reading 1 Samuel and onward there. One of the amazing experiences is to trace David's experience when Saul was determined to kill him. And I'm going to just share two of them. The first one is from 1 Samuel 23, 26 to 28. Saul was going along one side of the mountain, and David and his men were on the other side. So Saul was really getting close, hurrying to get away from Saul. As Saul and his forces were closing in on David and his men to capture them, so God allowed Saul to get so close that it looked like he was finished. Closing in on David and his men to capture them, a messenger came to Saul saying, "Come quickly, the Philistines are raiding the land." Then Saul broke off his pursuit of David and went to meet the Philistines. Who do you think stirred up the Philistines right at that moment? It was God. And Saul had a bigger problem, so he had to forget about David and chase after. Now, that's happened many times in the history that God has done that. Even Jerusalem, when Jerusalem was surrounded with the army, he heard there was a problem in another part of his kingdom, and so he left. And it allowed all the Christians to escape from Jerusalem. And so God is able to do this, among many other things, anytime that it's needed. Another one comes from 1 Samuel 24, 20 to 22. This one, the background is, it's a fairly well-known story. This time David and his men were hiding in a cave, and Saul was out looking for him, and he didn't know that David was in the cave, but he just needed a little rest, so he came into the cave and he laid down and took a nap. Well, David took the opportunity to go up to Saul and cut off a piece of his robe. His men wanted him to kill him, and he could have, but he wouldn't do that. He said, "It's the Lord's anointed. I won't do that." So after Saul woke up and went outside the cave, David followed him out, and he showed him and told him what he had done. Well, here's Saul's words. 1 Samuel 24, 20 to 22. The Lord delivered me into your hands. In other words, the Lord delivered me, Saul, into David's hands, but you did not kill me. May the Lord reward you well for the way you treated me today. I know that you will surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will be established in your hands. Then Saul returned home. God has 1,000 ways to deliver us, and he likes to use different ones, and so you can never know what he's going to do. You can't expect a certain way of being delivered. You just have to wait and watch until he chooses one of his ways to bring the deliverance. What's the time? 10 after 1? Okay. Well, I'll just read this one more then and close. Psalm 103, verses 2 to 5. Here's another one that mentions eagles. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgiveth all thine iniquities. So he gives us a little list of the blessings that God gives. He forgives all of our iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases, who redeemeth thy life from destruction, who crowneth thee with loving kindness and tender mercies. If it wasn't for him bearing us up on eagle's wings, all of those things would crush us. Who satisfies thy mouth with good things, so that thy youth is renewed like eagles. Amazing. So David was just praising God for the way God had handled him, in addition to all the ones before, all through the Bible. God is saying, listen, I have picked you up like that mother eagle, and I have carried you through all your problems and difficulties. I've carried you out of sin into, having me in your life and all the blessings that brings. And I will continue to bear you on eagle's wings all the way to the end of your life and to the end of this world. And so we're just about to see some miracles that we have never seen before. We've read about them, but I would say most of us have never seen them firsthand. But we're going to see them in the very near future. So may God help us to really put our trust in these promises and many others of his word.